Thanks for joining David, Kevin, and myself for the educational video for the month of June. For all of you out there, I feel fantastic after that back surgery I had 3 weeks ago. David and Kevin are going to talk about estate planning and bring up some important topics for you. As always, if you have any questions, want to delve into anything a little more deeply, please don't hesitate to give David, Kevin, or myself a call. I'm going to pass you over to the guys. Take care.
Estate planning is an often overlooked part of the overall financial planning process. Rightfully so, many people prioritize, are they in the correct investments? Do they have enough money set aside for their retirement? And that's all fair enough. Once those first primary parts of the financial planning process are taken care of, one must turn their eye to estate planning. Estate planning is absolutely critical, especially if you have any amount of assets, if you own a home, certainly if you have children, you definitely want to have an estate plan, which will certainly include a will, among other things. We'll touch on all of this today in today's video, and so hopefully you'll learn a thing or two.
One of the most important documents in estate planning is your will. Your will is a document that outlines your requests of how you want your assets to be distributed upon your death. Now, a lot of people think that they need to go to a lawyer only to have a will done, and that's not always the case. Depending on the complexity of your estate, your will can be done by a lawyer, by a notary, or a lot of more basic, simpler wills can be done online. Not having a will in place can lead to a plethora of problems and contentions, and unfortunately, this is mostly dealt with by family members as they're the ones left behind to deal with your estate.
As Kevin mentioned, a will is a document that takes precedence after you have died. There are two other important documents to consider as part of your planning that actually are in force only while you're alive, those being the power of attorney and representation agreement. The power of attorney allows you to name an individual or collection of individuals to make financial decisions on your behalf while you are alive. A representation agreement allows for someone to make personal, routine, and health-related decisions on your behalf. As you get older, having these documents in place become more and more important.
Another estate planning item is probate. Now, probate is the process of validating a will and settling the estate of a deceased person. The court will review the assets and debts of the deceased and approve distribution to the beneficiaries. Now, any items that don't have a designated beneficiary on them may be subject to a probate fee, and in British Columbia, that fee is 1.4%. Now, can probate be minimized or possibly even avoided? Absolutely.
The simplest way to streamline your estate and to avoid probate fees is to name beneficiaries and successor holders to your accounts wherever possible. On registered accounts like RRSPs, RIFs, LIRAs, and LIFs, as well as the tax-free savings account, you can name a beneficiary, or if you have a spouse, you can name them as successor holder. If you've named your spouse as successor holder, a spousal rollover will take place upon your death, meaning your spouse will inherit these registered accounts with no taxes payable and no effect on their own personal contribution rooms. You can also name children as contingent beneficiaries, or a second layer that would take precedence after a spouse. You'll also want to name beneficiaries on other assets like life insurance policies, segregated funds, and pensions. It's a really good idea to periodically, maybe every couple of years, have a meeting with your financial planner and go through all of the various assets that you have to make sure who you've got named as a beneficiary is still who you want it to be.
Another estate streamlining tool are trusts. Now, trusts are a bit more complicated than some other methods, but for higher net worth individuals, they can be a great way to help facilitate your estate planning and make sure that you are handling your estate in a tax efficient manner. Two options are inter vivos and testamentary trusts. The testamentary trust is created upon your death, whereas an inter vivos trust is created during your lifetime and can be an effective way to bypass probate fees.
Gifting is another strategy you can undertake during your lifetime to help streamline your estate. If you decide to gift assets prior to death, it can make your estate simpler. It can also minimize probate fees because you're pre-gifting assets that would otherwise form part of your estate and be distributed via your will and be subject to that 1.4% probate fee. But if you are considering doing major gifting later in life, it's usually a good idea to have a written record of the gift to avoid any potential future estate disputes from your beneficiaries.
Although the impacts of poor estate planning may not be felt by you during your lifetime, it'll be your family members who have to deal with the consequences of that poor planning once you pass away. And that could lead to a prolonged period of dealing with your estate in order to settle it.
As always, if you guys have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. We have some great resources. We've got a nice estate planning checklist that you can ask us to send to you, and you can work your way through that. We're also happy to sit down and have a meeting with you. Like we mentioned before, every couple of years it's a good idea to sit down with your planner just to make sure you've got named beneficiaries on all of your accounts. Are the named beneficiaries still who you want them to be? We've taken on many clients over the years who have pensions, or maybe they've separated from a previous spouse, and sometimes they forget to actually update the beneficiary. So making a point of doing that sort of housekeeping as far as your estate planning periodically is a great thing to do, and we're happy to sit down with you and go through all of your various options with you.
So if you'd like to set up that kind of meeting, or you just want to call and talk to us about your estate planning, feel free to call Harry, David, or myself at any time.
Take care.